Look at the people of the world. Every possible shade of skin from the darkest brown to the palest pink. You have been taught in 1,000 quiet ways that this is a deep and important difference between people, that it runs to the core of who someone is. It doesn't. Skin color is one of the shallowest, most recent, and most easily changed features your species has. And the real reason it exists has nothing to do with race. It comes down to one thing, and one thing only: the sun. First, forget the idea of many separate things. All human skin color comes from a single substance, a pigment called melanin. The more melanin you have, the darker your skin. The less you have, the lighter it is. That's it. Every human on Earth is running the exact same machinery, just turned up or turned down. Melanin is quite literally a built-in sunscreen. And to understand why some people have more of it and some have less, you have to understand a problem every human ancestor faced. The sun is trying to keep you alive and to kill you at the very same time. Here is the danger. Sunlight carries ultraviolet radiation, and UV does something hidden and terrible inside your body. It destroys a molecule in your blood called folate. Folate, also known as vitamin B9, is essential. It is used to build DNA, and it is absolutely critical during pregnancy. Without enough folate, a developing baby can suffer severe defects, and fertility itself drops. So for our ancestors living under the fierce sun near the equator, strong UV was quietly draining away the one thing they needed to raise healthy children. And evolution's answer was melanin. Dark skin is a shield. It soaks up the UV before it can wreck the folate underneath. Under a brutal sun, dark skin was not a cosmetic detail. It was survival. It protected the next generation. So if dark skin is so protective, why isn't everyone dark? Why did any human ever become pale? Because the sun is not only a threat. It is also a necessity. Your body uses that very same UV light to make vitamin D, and vitamin D is just as vital as folate. It builds your bones, powers your immune system, and helps keep you alive. Here is the catch. To make vitamin D, your skin has to let some UV in. But dark skin, that beautiful shield, blocks most of it. Near the equator, with sunlight blasting down all year, that is no problem. Even dark skin lets through plenty. But move far from the equator into the weak, slanting light of the north, and everything changes. Now the sunlight is faint, and if your skin is dark, it blocks so much of that weak light that your body can no longer make enough vitamin D. You get sick, your bones soften, your children struggle. And so, over thousands of years in those low sunlight places, evolution slowly turned the dial the other way. Skin lightened. Less melanin, so more of the scarce UV could get through and make vitamin D. This is the whole secret. Your skin color is a dial, a compromise set by exactly one factor: how much sunlight your ancestors lived under. Enough melanin to guard your folate from the sun, but not so much that you starve of vitamin D. Every shade of human skin is a different setting on that single dial, tuned to a different amount of sunlight. In fact, you can watch this dial move on your own body. Step into summer's sun, and within days, your skin begins to darken. That is your melanin rising to shield your folate, in real time. When winter comes, it fades again. Your ancestors' skin did the same thing, only permanently, across thousands of years instead of a single season. It is the most visible thing about a person, and one of the least meaningful. Now, here is the part that surprises most people. What was the original color? For most of our story, our ancestors were covered in fur like a chimpanzee, and under fur the skin is actually pale. But then, over 1 million years ago, humans did something strange. We lost our body hair. We became the naked ape. And the moment that fur was gone, that pale skin was suddenly exposed to the full African sun. Folate was being destroyed, so evolution responded and our ancestors became dark-skinned. That is the deep original human color. Everyone alive today descends from dark-skinned ancestors. Lighter skin is not the starting point. It is a later adjustment. We can even see it written in our genes. A gene that controls dark pigment became locked firmly in place across our ancestors well over 1 million years ago and stayed that way. For most of human existence, there was only one human color, and it was dark. And that adjustment happened as humans began to leave Africa and spread across the planet. As small groups pushed north into Europe and Asia, into lands of long, dim winters, the pressure flipped, and their skin gradually lightened. But here is the strange twist. It did not happen just once. Lighter skin evolved separately in different places using different genes. The changes that lightened the skin of people in Europe are not the same changes that lightened the skin of people in East Asia. Two completely different genetic paths, arriving at a similar result because they face the same weak northern sun. Nature solved the very same problem twice, in two different ways. In Europe, much of that lightning traces back to a single tiny change in one gene, a swap of just one letter of DNA. Today, almost every person of European descent carries it. But it is recent and it is shallow. One small edit to the sunscreen dial. And it all happened astonishingly recently. We used to imagine these differences as ancient, fixed, set in stone at the dawn of humanity. They are not. When scientists analyzed the DNA of a 10,000-year-old skeleton found in Britain, known as Cheddar Man, they found something that stunned people. One of the earliest Britons had dark skin and blue eyes. Many of the gene variants for pale skin in Europe only became common a few thousand years ago, possibly spreading alongside farming as a new diet changed what the body needed. In the great sweep of evolution, that is the blink of an eye. The pale skin some people treat as ancient and defining is, in truth, a very new arrival. The scientist who pieced much of this together is named Nina Jablonski, and her conclusion cuts straight through one of humanity's oldest and ugliest ideas. Skin color is not a marker of deep, separate kinds of people. It is a thin, surface-level response to sunlight, one that has slid up and down, back and forth again and again across our history. It tracks latitude, not lineage, which leads to something almost no one is told plainly. The categories of race that humans have fought and killed over are not biological facts. They are built on this one shallow trait, this sunscreen dial. Genetically, two people with the very same skin color can be far more different from each other than two people whose skin looks nothing alike. Skin color tells you almost nothing about the rest of a person's biology. It tells you roughly where their ancestors stood in relation to the sun. That is all. In fact, most of the genetic variation in our entire species is found within any single group, not between them. The neat lines we drew between colors barely exist in the biology underneath. Picture a single family following its own line across thousands of years. They begin under the strong sun of Africa, dark-skinned, their folate protected. Some of their descendants wander north into dimmer light, and generation by generation over many centuries, their skin fades lighter, chasing vitamin D. And if some of them one day wandered back toward the equator, the dial would slowly turn again, and their descendants would darken once more. Same family, same species, same people. Only the setting on the dial has changed, following the sun across the map. So the next time you notice the color of someone's skin, remember what you are actually looking at. Not a different kind of human, not a deeper truth about who they are. You are looking at a record of sunlight, a thin layer of pigment thinner than a sheet of paper, tuned over generations to a place on the Earth. The single feature humanity has built its deepest divisions upon turns out to be one of the most superficial things about us, quite literally, skin deep. It is a map of ancient sunlight, not a measure of the person wearing it. And nobody ever told you that the color you were taught to see as a difference is really just the shadow of the sun,